All right. Thank you for joining today's webinar. The title of this webinar is Coral Bleaching Toolkit and Comprehensive Guide. We're very excited to share with this project with you. My name is Andrea Rivera, and I am the Project and Outreach Manager for Coral Reef Alliance, which is an environmental and nonprofit that's on a mission to save the world's coral reefs. And we work with communities and partners around the world to keep reefs healthy so they can adapt to the effects of climate change. And I am here with my colleague Brianna to present the toolkit.
Great, thanks, Andrea. And my name is Brianna Bambic, and I've worked with as a global engagement for the Allen Coral Atlas for the last 4 years, and now I'm with Arizona State University's Global Center for Conservation Science. So thank you. I'm really excited to be here, and I'll let Andrea take it away.
Thank you. So for today's webinar, just a few information. This webinar will run for approximately 45 minutes. Then we'll save 15 minutes at the end to answer questions. So please type your questions into the section of the control panel in the chat box. And this webinar is going to be recorded. A link to the recording will be sent in the follow-up email. So if you're not able to join now, then you'll be able to receive this webinar by email. So first, to start off, I'm very curious to see what continent you are calling in from. So right now we have approximately 50 participants, and I'm going to launch a poll where you can let us know where you're calling in from. If you're calling in from Asia, Australasia, North America, South America, or Europe, or Africa. Let's see. We have about a little bit more than half of the participants already answered the poll. So it seems like most of them are in North America, which also can be Central America. That's 50%. We have 25 from South America, and it seems I'm gonna end the poll so you can see the results. There's about 5% from Asia, Australasia. I know that it's probably very early for you, so thank you for joining. Europe 8% and Africa 8% as well. So thank you. And I have another poll to see what sector do you represent. We're also very curious to know if you are from an NGO or if you work in the government, if you're a dive operator or work with tourism, if you're an MPA manager, if you're a student or other. And it seems as NGO is winning 47% so far. We have 17% students, other 28%. As the questions and answers are coming in. All right, so it seems that as I'm going to share the poll, most of the participants today are from the NGO sector. So thank you for joining. Okay. All right, so the goal of today is to share with you the Coral Bleaching Toolkit and Comprehensive guide. And this guide aims to pull together a wealth of information, actionable guidelines, and resources for understanding and monitoring coral bleaching events. So this guide is available online. It's free. Here you can see the QR code so you can log in. And it's a pleasure to share this with you because My role has been to synthesize a wealth of information, and I think it's really important to be able to share this with the world. And we're in the process of continually to improve this tool. So if you have any suggestions or other methods that you see that could be included into any of the section, please let us know. And this is really important because in order to measure coral bleaching across the globe, we need to coordinate efforts. And one of these efforts is also to share the information that's available for monitoring coral bleaching. So what we're going to see today is a brief introduction, overview of coral bleaching, and my colleague Brianna Bambic will share a bit more about the remote sensing tools available. Then I'll talk more about the on-site monitoring tools that are available for the globe. We'll share with you a checklist on how to mobilize and protect, and also we'll share information on the future of coral reefs, particularly touching on the work that we conduct at Coral Reef Alliance on evolution, and offer you other ways that you can help reefs. So first, as many as you know, coral reefs are one of the most fragile ecosystems, and they're threatened by global and local threats. Today, we're only going to talk about one of the main global threats, which is climate change and high sea surface temperatures. And the main impact is bleaching events. So, and we know that coral reefs are in trouble and that marine heat waves are increasing coral bleaching events. The average sea surface temperature over time has been increasing. This is a diagram from the Copernicus Climate Change Services that shows how this year has been the warmest. And this has impacts directly to coral reefs, because we can go from healthy to coral bleaching as an impact, and also to coral mortality if those threats continue to increase. And here I just wanted to share quickly a video on how the temperature has been increasing over time. So I like this graphic, not because of what it shows, but because you can plug your date you were born basically and see how it has been increasing over time. And you can see by the color of how the temperature has been increasing. So this year we are reaching basically a tipping point of +3 Celsius above the average. And with El Nino event, we also have to prepare for stronger marine heat waves. Scientists are pretty amazed of what's happening right now. The heating of the Central and Eastern Pacific during El Nino can trigger marine heat waves in many parts of the world, and we're already starting to see these impacts. One of them is coral bleaching, and this occurs when corals expel their symbiotic symbiotic algae, which provide about 80 to 90% of its energy. And these the coral bleaching can vary from intrinsic and also extrinsic variables. So some of the extrinsic could be the heat stress that it's exposed to. Also, it can be bleached. Coral can bleach due to cold water, solar irradiance, also because of the water quality, low tides, or its habitat. But there are other intrinsic variables that also play a key role of how corals can also bleach. And they can vary from the clades that they have, the physiology, the microbe community that makes up the coral, the life history, species composition, and past bleaching events. So it can be tricky. And Most of these bleaching events have been investigated over different scales. Here we can see a graph where it shows that the research can be done by molecular tools or by divers in the water, physiological tools, or more remote sensing tools such as satellites and aerial imaging. And here is an image that shows what it looks like from drone. This is an image from New Caledonia. And you can see the fluorescence also from the drones. So we're gonna go on to talk about the remote sensing tools. My colleague, Brianna Bambic, will show you more information about the different tools that are available.
Thanks, Andrea. Great intro. I appreciate it. And I'm really excited to share with you guys the remote sensing tools that we have here today that she created. And what we're going to, what we'll cover today is 6 remote sensing tools used on a global level and a regional level, used to track coral bleaching events worldwide. So the global will go with NOAA Coral Reef Watch, Allen Coral Atlas, Aqualink, and regionally we'll go with Coastal Marine Information and Analyst System, known as Seamar, Western Indian Ocean Coral Bleaching Monitoring Service, and Hawaii U.S. Pacific Islands Regional Climate Impacts and Outlook. So first off, we have the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration Coral Reef Watch program provides the most widely used global early warning system of coral reef ecosystem environmental changes. So we can go to the next slide and press the video. This video shows NOAA's Coral Reef modeled outlook and satellite-based products to predict and monitor in near real time the thermal stress that drives coral bleaching that Andrea just described, disease and death. This video will show the coral reef products are primarily sea surface temperature based, but also incorporate light and ocean color data, along with other variables. And you'll see that, and we're going to circle the bleaching alert emails. The Coral Reef Watch offers an automated satellite bleaching alert email system that alerts subscribers to heat stress conducive to coral bleaching at reef locations around the globe. And you can also report coral bleaching here on this page on NOAA's website. So on the next slide, we'll again show the products that NOAA has to offer, and where the blue arrow is, you can sign up with that little icon, bleaching alert. We can move on. Thank you. NOAA's satellite bleaching alert system is based on Coral Reef Watch daily global 5-kilometer resolution satellite coral bleaching heat stress monitoring products such as the sea surface temperature anomalies pictured above. You can see bleaching alerts automatically delivers up-to-date information on changes in the bleaching alert status for those reefs to which subscribers use. And the following slide, this allows critical information about coral bleaching heat stress to reach a user immediately without requiring the user to check the Coral Reef Watch website. However, as you see here, this is a visualization of the global bleaching alert levels, such as this example on September 7th, 2023, so just this month. When a location is in Coral Reef Watch Alert Level 1, the Allen Coral Atlas Bleaching Alert System is triggered. This is the next tool I will show you, which is the Allen Coral Atlas. The Allen Coral Atlas is a partnership. We can move on to the next video. Thank you. That uses high-resolution satellite imagery, Planet Dove satellites, which you can see here, the machine learning and field data to map and monitor the world's coral reefs, unprecedented global coverage. The Atlas provides the new dynamic reef threats monitoring technology, along with the first comprehensive map of benthic habitats and reef geomorphology. You can sign up for a newsletter on this webpage here or dive into the socials at the bottom of the homepage. Next, I'll give, this video shows the Atlas bleaching data in bright green moving throughout February 2019 to June 2023. And you can see how the green moves across the world with the bleaching occurrences, tracking the severity of potential coral reef bleaching. This aspect is included in the reef threats that was developed by Arizona State University's Center for Global Discovery and Conservation Science and provides tracking of the location, extent, and severity of potential coral reef bleaching and changes in ocean water turbidity worldwide. And next is a time series that shows bleaching observations of Fiji. We just saw a global perspective. Now we're seeing a close-up in early 2023 that was triggered by NOAA's Coral Reef Watch data. Once triggered, the Atlas monitoring system provides observations of potential coral bleaching in 3 levels of severity. As you can see, the yellow is low, which is 4 weeks. Moderate is in orange, 6-8 weeks, and severe in red is 12 weeks. At 10-meter resolution, this is based on Sentinel-2 satellite images. And to wrap up the Allen Coral Atlas, we're a little video to show you how to sign up for a new bleaching alert system available for marine regions of the world, exclusive economic zones, specific areas of interest, and marine protected areas. You can toggle on under reference layers, the maritime boundaries, and it will have a pop-up. Then you can click easily on the alert me and you just press save. So it's very quick, very easy. You do need to create an account. So you are able to receive the emails from into your inbox. So please reach out if you have any questions on how to sign up for the Allen Coral Atlas bleaching alerts. Next, we have Aqualink, which is an engineering organization working on building ocean conservation technology. Aqualink is a real-time global ocean temperature monitoring platform that allows users to create sites of interest, to virtually track heat stress, or via deployed solar-powered Aqualink smart buoys by SOFAR. This image shows Aqualink's dashboard on the left, the deployed Aqualink smart buoys, and on the right is a live stream data of a selected site off Hermosa Beach, Costa Rica. And as we go to the next slide, here is another view of the Aqualink site that measures water quality parameters or temperature tracking using temperature loggers. I highly encourage people to look into those 3 global projects. And next, we'll go into regional projects. The first one is the Coastal Marine Information and Analysis System, another known as Seamar. It's led by Comisión Nacional para el Conocimiento y Uso de la Biodiversidad, or CONABIO, Mexico. And this Seamar integrates analysis and manages and visualizes large volumes of multi-scale data derived from in situ sampling and monitoring physical and chemical parameters, biodiversity records, and citizen science, satellite observations of ocean temperature and color, climate models, and geospatial information. They have a lot here. Here on the next slide, you'll see an example. Yep, there we go. Seamar provides an operational early warning systems for many things that you see, one being coral bleaching, another one pelagic sargassum, and red tides in the Caribbean. And the final slide here for Seamar shows a dashboard example that visualizes the satellite bleaching alert system that includes data from October 1981. So the next regional area we have is Western Indian Ocean Coral Bleaching Monitoring Service. The Western Indian Ocean Coral Bleaching Monitoring Service provides satellite-derived risk and monitoring products for coastal and nearshore ecosystems that are high-value, ecologically vulnerable, natural capital, or exploitable resources. The service was co-designed by Earth observation researchers and developers from the Council for Scientific, Industrial, and Research in collaboration with domain experts and consortium partners from Cordio, East Africa. So definitely check that out. It looks very, very cool. And then finally, the regional area is in Hawaii and US Pacific Islands Regional Climate Impacts and Outlook. Here, this is a digital version of the Pacific ENSO Applications Climate Center's Pacific ENSO update. These quarterly newsletters bring together other sources and a mix of primary US agencies, institutions, and organizations to show seasonal predictions and projections alongside information of recent impacts of weather and climate events in a concise and accessible format. This webpage also provides access to regional climate overviews and aggregate climate variability related content via links to products. So if any of these regions you are looking for a global outlook, I encourage you again, or a regional outlook, to look into these sources, or if we missed any, please let us know. So I'm passing the baton back to Andrea for a poll.
Thank you, Brianna. And that those are, a few of the global remote sensing tools. So definitely check them out. They provide a wealth of information, very useful for tracking coral bleaching events. So here I'm going to launch the third poll. We're curious to know if you're monitoring coral bleaching in the field, what methods do you use? So here I'm launching the poll. You can also apply all those that you use. So your answers are not just limited to one option. You can click a few. So far, we're getting pretty even spread. We'll give it a minute or so and see as the questions are being answered. Yeah, it's pretty interesting because it seems to be very there's not one that's completely dominated. So let me end the poll and share with you those results. So about 43% use belt transect and 52% use visual estimate. So it seems that a lot of you are using a lot of different methods. So thank you for sharing that. Sharing here the poll so you can also visualize the answers. And we're going to continue. So now we're going to talk more in detail about the on-site monitoring tools that are being used in the water. And there's many different tools. One can be quite overwhelmed to try to figure out which one to use. And here we decided to organize the different tools by those that are used at the global level, some that I use at the Atlantic, in the Pacific, in East Asia, and also in the Indian Ocean. So I recommend that depending on the area that you're in, that you look at those monitoring tools that are used there so that you can also help strengthen the efforts of monitoring bleaching within the region. So Brianna talked about the NOAA Coral Reef Watch, which is a great tool where you can report your information. Then we have the Global Coral Reef Monitoring Network, which is the global operational network of the International Coral Reef Initiative. So they collect and synthesize information from different locations. Then we have the Wildlife Conservation Society and Mermaid platform. I'll talk a little bit more about the rapid bleaching tool that's used. We also have here to share with you the belt transects used by Reef Check, which is also worldwide, and the University of Queensland photo transect methodology, which is also widely used, and Reef Cloud, led by the Australian Institute of Marine Science, AIMS. There's also Coral Watch Color Card, and the National Coral Reef Monitoring Program, which is used in areas of the U.S. territories. So here we'll talk briefly about the rapid bleaching protocol led by WCS and Mermaid. Usually consists of, sorry, that's my dog here. Hi, sorry about that. My doggy wants to participate also in the seminar. So this is a method that uses the visual quadrats. And you can identify colonies to the growth form or genus and identify bleaching scores in 7 different categories. And Mermaid is an open source application that collects and manages real-time data on coral reef health. So please check it out. Another global method is the Georeference photo quadrant and reef cloud. This method can be done by snorkeling or diving. And you usually take photos of the benthic floor, and you have a GPS that's attached on a buoy. So each of the images can be geotagged. Also, these images, you can analyze them using Reef Cloud, which is a software that uses artificial intelligence to help analyze the photos. So you don't need to have the photos georeference in order to do the Reef Cloud process, but it also helps you identify the extent of bleaching. And then there's the bell transects from Reef Check, where you use mostly diving, and this is a process that, where you receive an eco diver certification, and it's a 100-meter transect where you look at different benthic categories, but you also look at bleaching percentages of those transects. It's very important for you to link up with the local reef checker leaders, because we currently have small grants to support coral bleaching field surveys. And now we'll go into the regional methods. So for the Atlantic, the main method used is the Atlantic Gulf and Rapid Reef Assessment, AGRA, and also the in the Mesoamerican region is the Healthy Reefs that uses the bar drop method, or the ECOMAR Belize Coral Watch program. So there was a seminar actually this morning about some of the methods with AGRA. So I highly recommend that you check that out if you're interested in learning more of this tool in the Caribbean. And in Florida, there's 4 different organizations that work together to collect data at different levels on coral bleaching. In the Pacific, in the Hawaiian Islands, there's 2 organizations, the Kauai Corps and Eyes on the Reef. They help collect coral bleaching data during bleaching events. In the South Pacific, there's the Center for Insular Research and Environmental Observatory, CREOB, that works together with Site of Observation, the National Observation Services. And in New Caledonia, there's Paladalik. It's a citizen science program that works together with a participatory coral reef monitoring network. So if you're in the Pacific, definitely check those out. If you're in the Great Barrier Reef area, as the AIMS uses a long-term monitoring program, and they also use field surveys, manto tows, and aerial surveys to monitor bleaching. And there's also the Great Barrier Reef Authority, GBR MPA, that uses the Eye on the Reef and citizen science. And they also do, in collaboration, aerial surveys. In East Asia, there's different organizations. We have the Philippines with the Philippines Coral Bleaching Watch. There's Indonesia with the Coral Bleaching Network in Indonesia. And there's also Malaysia with Reef Check Malaysia. So these 2 use coral bleaching data from Reef Check. Then there's the Indian Ocean. We have Cordio East Africa, which leads the Indian Ocean Coral Bleaching Network, which is also linked to the platform that Brianna mentioned on the Western Indian Ocean service. And then there's the Maldives Marine Research Institute. They have wealth of information, and they lead the Coral Database, which is a reporting system that includes different methods, some that are more basic, some that are more advanced, for reporting coral health and bleaching severity in the Maldives. So that is it for the different methods. There's a lot used globally, so that sometimes makes the comparability difficult, but it's important that you identify which of the methods are most likely to be used in your region. So as I mentioned before, they support those efforts. So now I'm going to talk about the checklist, how to mobilize and protect. This checklist is geared towards managers and dive operators. This can be downloaded online, and this is what it looks like. There's basically some checklists for before, during, and after, and this information was also created with the NOAA Chorus site. So if you're a manager, definitely check out the NOAA Chorus site, because there's more detailed information about how to create your response plans for your marine protected area. So here you see the different ones before. It's very important that you develop or review your bleaching and other crisis response plans. If you don't have one, check out the Reef Resilience Network guidance, where you can see, and they provide information how you can create one. Then activate the early warning systems. You can sign up for alerts, check bleaching for specific areas. We went over these specific warning systems. So depending on your region, select the one that is most likely to be useful for you. Also, prepare to communicate with authorities, dive operators, and other key partners. Support monitoring plans for the region. Many dive shops are the first ones to be in the water every day. They're the ones that see these changes of coral bleaching daily. So I think it's important to also coordinate with the groups that are also doing monitoring. And then important to plan with stakeholders how to reduce the stressors on the reef. For example, here in Mexico, there's a park that has closed certain areas for one day to give a rest to some of the dive sites. Communicate to diving guests how they can support also. And you can also join a citizen science monitoring network, as some of the examples that we gave before. So during a bleaching event, it's really important that you help reduce stressors on the reef. You can do this different ways, by setting up moorings or prevent anchoring. These are things that we should be doing anyways, but it's also important to also do them as there's a bleaching event. As I mentioned before, you can give busy dive sites a rest, especially if they're fluorescing or if they're bleaching. Please don't touch corals, keep hands and feet off the sand, reduce fishing pressure. If there's spear fishing happening in certain locations, take a break. Also use reef safe sunscreen. And ensure you have proper wastewater treatment to reduce contaminants for sewage, since bleached corals are more susceptible to diseases. It's really important that you also document the bleaching event. You can do this by observing carefully which corals survive and which ones die, by taking photographs and taking annotations. And you can also add an explanation of what's happening to the reef in your dive brief. communicate bleaching events to the media, authorities, and also NGOs, and connect with local monitoring groups. Now you know a little bit more about those at the global level. And after, it's important to document those lessons learned and let data help at the forefront of the management decision. So providing those data sets to different organizations is important. And as we mentioned before, to have this communication, constant communication with the different authorities and NGOs. So I know we're running a little bit short in time. This work is focused on coral, on the future of coral reefs and on coral reef evolution. And I invite you to go to the website to check out this infographic, which explains how the coral genetic traits can be determined by the evolutionary history and environmental conditions, because corals are continually adapting to these warmer waters. And sometimes when we have bleaching events, we're like, okay, what do we do? Are we doomed? But I think it's important that we understand a little bit of the evolution that's occurring, because as corals spawn, reefs are connected, and by the movement of coral larvae through ocean currents, we can facilitate the spread of heat tolerant genes. So we need to protect areas that are corals that are located in hot waters, but also corals are in historically cooler reefs. And as over time, as oceans continue to warm, these reefs will shift into having more heat tolerant corals that can survive and hopefully thrive. But so this infographic you're able to download online, and I think it's really important to understand that in order to protect reefs, we really need to design conservation for adaptation. So we need to address local coral reef threats like poor water quality and overfishing, because if we have these threats still happening in the ocean, then it's going to be harder for the reefs to survive and adapt. We need to identify and protect connected reef networks that include places where corals are more likely to be more heat tolerant and places where their larvae are more likely to end up. And we need to reduce carbon emissions to slow down the pace of climate change. There's other ways that you can help by reducing your carbon footprint and your business carbon footprint, and also engage with policymakers so that this is also being done at the community or the city that you live in. You can prioritize sustainable options, support marine conservation efforts, and spread awareness. I think the more and more we see these impacts in the water, the more that we need to spread awareness. So if you work with coral restoration and you see that there's bleaching in your sites, there's a wealth of information out there. Please check out the Coral Restoration Consortium. They just gave an excellent webinar earlier last month. And also today there was a webinar from the AGRA Caribbean Cooperation team, so please check it out. And also, if you're a dive operator, there's many different voluntary standards for sustainability. These are really important for us to protect our reefs. I encourage you to check out the Coral Train the Trainer program, where you can provide this program for tour guide operators. This one is targeted for the Mesoamerican Reef. It's online. There's different modules. It's in English and it's also in Spanish. So please check it out. And I know we are getting ready for the Q&A. So before we go on to that, I just wanted to launch one last poll and ask you In what conservation domain is your organization helping to support coral reef health and reduce bleaching? You can select all those that apply. And this is just for us to know what conservation areas are most interested for each organization. So we have a tie from marine protection, so marine protected areas, and also coral reef monitoring. Actually also education. I think I'm gonna give a few more minutes for everybody, all the participants, to share. And it seems as in coral reef monitoring is the highest by 69%, and then marine protection. So let me end the poll and share this with you so that you can also visualize everybody else's conservation domains. So mostly marine protections, 30% fisheries, water quality issues, 12%, conservation, science and research, 54%, coral reef monitoring, 69%, and education, 50%. Thank you so much. And once again, here's the Coral Bleaching Toolkit and Comprehensive Guide. Please let us know how useful, if there's also information that we need to include. We're very open to continue to strengthen it. This is an ongoing effort with multiple institutions. So we thank those as well. And also, before I end, it's important to end on a positive note. I know that things can also be very hard when you see coral bleaching in the sites that you work, but do not lose hope. Keep positive and think local and act local. So I think now we're gonna open the floor or the chat box to the questions that you may have.